Well, good evening, good evening, good evening to everyone. Good evening. This is Bridging the Nations. We are so delighted that you have decided to join us on today. My name is Antoinette Marie. Antoinette Marie speaks, and our triad. Come on, Lady Queen, let them know who you are.
I am Shamika Willis, also known as Lady Queen I Am, and I just came to motivate you to help you live the best life that God intended for you to live from the beginning.
Brother King. Well, good evening.
We love hearing our
I love it. It's the replay. I am the motivational teacher to the masses, Anthony D. Williams, and as a result of my teaching coaching, you will realize your human capital out there. It's our goal to get you where you need to be to get so you can die empty. That is the goal.
That is the goal. So we just think, hooray, Bridging the Nations zone. Come on, y'all. Tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your relatives, tell your grandmama, tell Shakita, tell, Bertha, tell all of them. Jim.
Go let them know.
Go let them know. Bridging the Nations is on right now. Bridging the Nation is on. So while our brother King gets together our intro, because you know how we do here at Bridging the Nation. There we are. Be right
there. Come on now. We about to get into some good stuff tonight. Come on now. Move that head. Let's go. We know what the day has been like. Shake it off.
We came a long way, baby.
Don't need that hard.
Come on with me.
You prove that you can do it, baby.
We are so happy and delighted that you have decided to join us. We always take the second time around.
The first one let you down.
The first one let you down.
Baby, with me to love can still be found. Love can still be found.
Hey, y'all go ahead and invite your friends. Let them know the triad is here. We are about to bridge the nation.
We are bridging nations on today. And one of the things we always say, listen, you guys have decided to dedicate your time here today. It's always great to have fun, to be excited about what you do. It's always fun to be excited about your life. It's always, you have to have some enjoyment in your life, right? And so This is also a part of Bridging the Nations. We are here to give you biblical principles, line by line, precept by precept, and to just keep it 100% real with you, right? Because we believe that is, if you stay in that vein. You're going to have some hard and difficult times. You're going to have some great successes, but that is where we want to stay. So we want to say good afternoon. Hey, Tracy. Hey, girl.
Hey,
how are you? Hey, Cammie. Thank you for joining us on this evening.
Yes, welcome.
Thank y'all for joining us.
So we're going to come right back. We're going to let me see here what we're going to do. So we want you to get your pen, your paper, so that you can take down and get some of these great nuggets, and we will be back.
Today, I wanted to just take a little bit of time just to let you know that you are important and that I love you. And if nobody ever has said it to you, you're going to hear it from me today. You're beautiful, you're handsome, you're divine. This is Antoinette Marie.
That was beautiful.
I see you.
I see you.
I
see you.
I needed to hear that.
Yes.
I love you too.
We are bridging the nations. We are bridging the nations. So today we have an awesome topic that we are discussing on today, and we are talking about, it's a package deal. We are definitely speaking on blended families. This is episode number 1 because we know that there's a lot that you with us want to discuss. Hey, Courtney, about blended families. And one of the things I was thinking about, like, I don't know if I heard this talked about so much anywhere, whether it's the church, whether it is just even being a part of a blended family. Like, this is a conversation that people just don't talk about. We just get into it. You know, we just get into a family, and we don't even sometimes don't think about, you know, this is a blended family and what it actually means. And so we want to be the individuals, our triad, that comes and talks and speaks to you about just everyday life, everyday things that happen, and blended families are very much that. And so we know that everything that happens on today, that God is going to be edified, and that's our business. And who gonna stop us? Nobody. So here's the thing. We also want you to, when you have your comment, let us know what city you're from. That's real important to us. We want to know what city you're from, and then have this discussion. Hey, Tanya, have this discussion with us about some of the questions that you have. Hey, Charlotte. Hey, Courtney, some of the things that you want us to talk about. Hey, Miss Senegal, good evening. Let us know. Be in. This is a discussion, right? This is a conversation that we're having amongst friends and families, y'all. So let's start. Let's get this start off right now. So here's the thing. So one of the things I wanted us to do is I wanted us to really know what a blended family means. So, you know, okay, we go to this Webster, right? It says a blended family is a family that includes children from a previous marriage of either parent. So that means, you know, you can have a husband that has children by someone else, and then that husband comes in and gets married. The same thing for a wife. So I think we probably got that pretty much down pat. Hey, Shay, I think we got that pretty much down pat, right? And so let me give you some statistics. I think this piece is really important before we kind of get going, right? So the Pew Research Center, Pew, P-E-W, says that a third of all weddings in America today form step families. A third. So like, you see our triad, 1, 2, 3. So at least one of us has a combination blended family, right? That's powerful. That's a powerful statistic, right? And so ultimately, the Pew Research Center said there are over 42 million individuals that are encompassing blended families. That's a lot of people. So that's one of the reasons why I said, wow, why aren't we talking about this? Why is this not important? Why hasn't this come to the forefront? But y'all know how we do on Bridging the Nations. We talk about things and discuss things that nobody may want to even touch, but we're going to touch about it.
We're going to do it.
We're going to touch about it today, okay?
Yes, we are.
So here's the thing. We want this to be a discussion. Yes, we're on here and we're hosting, but we want you to get vigorously involved on tonight. So one of the things, you know, I remember seeing, I think it was Alicia Keys when she got married to, I think his name is Swizz Beatz.
Yep.
Is that it, Anthony? Okay. Swizz Beatz. And so they are a blended family that actually wrote a book called Blended. It's amazing. It's amazing. Wow. It's amazing, right? And then you have, like, there's so many people. You have, you know, us that's on here. We have blended families. I don't know. Anthony, you got a blended family?
I don't have one, but my family was blended because none of my parents were ever married. My mom and my dad were never married, so we were really blended.
Okay.
We just extra blended. That's
yeah,
all.
we were really blended.
It was actually blended. I hear you. I hear you. And so this is such a true and valid topic. So one of the things that, you know, when we talk about blended families, I'm going to come from this perspective of the child and how does becoming a blended family really affect children. So for me personally, I grew up in a blended family. So my biological mother got married for the second time. And so we had, you know, there never was like this sit down conversation about, what do you think about such and such? never had that conversation. I think I actually was in middle school. I don't know. No, I was in I don't know, elementary or middle. But there never was like a conversation like, okay, this is what's getting ready to happen. Hey, Winford, this is what's getting ready to happen. And I think that that's important. I'm not saying that you need to get permission from your children if you want to and have decided that you want to remarry. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is I believe that it's very important to have a discussion. It's very important to talk to your children, and particularly depending on their ages. So if you have, infants and things like that, that's a little bit different of if there is a conversation. But when you have middle school age children, high school children, that's a conversation that needs to be had, right? We, a lot of times we have families that say, hey, I'm grown, I can do whatever I want to do. You're not going to be able to tell me nothing. I get it. I totally get it. However, I would say from an individual that has come from a blended family, it's great to have that conversation. It's great to talk about this individual. And then I know I used to always hear people say, when's the best time to introduce your children to your, to your gentleman friend that you really, really are very interested in? I don't know. Y'all tell us. Tell us, because we're not going to hold the entire conversation.
Well, you know what, sis, that's what I wondered too, because this was something that I thought about, because you don't want, especially your daughters, you don't want to introduce them to every Tom, Dick, and Harry, or every Pam, Sue, and Jane. You don't want to introduce them to every individual that you might come in contact with, because I've always heard that, especially older people say, look, you don't want to introduce your child to all these people, or you decide you're going to date this person or be with this person, and then this doesn't work out after however long, and then you go to the next person, like, to protect them from that. So what do you do, I guess, whenever that comes about? Because you don't want to introduce them to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 different guys, especially daughters, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say, as a brother, I would think, just me thinking out loud, that if you were to take me there too early, I couldn't take you as serious as I thought I once would, because at that moment you take me there, like, that tells me like where your thinking is as a person. Because if this is something, I think we should first know that we are going to work before we introduce, whether I have kids or whether the female have kids, before we ever introduce kids. We should know where we stand first before we ever introduce the children in any relationship, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I hear both of those. I think too, a lot of times as adults, whether males or females, we have to be real careful of all these different partners that we bring it in as well, right? And so I remember my grandmother, she used to be like, she never probably would say this real loud, but I could see some things on her face, like, listen, you don't bring everybody. How many guys you gonna be with in 1 week? Like, come on. And I always remember, our brother King Anthony says, come on, y'all, we mature. We got to have some discipline about ourselves. You can't have Jimmy John's. You can't have Jimmy John on Monday, and then you want to have Rock Rococo on Thursday, and then you want to have Samuel Lovely on Sunday. You cannot. It's just not healthy. That's all I'm gonna say. It's just not healthy. And so when we think about our children, when it comes to blended families, so let's say you decided you have gotten married and now you have this blended family. So from a child's perspective, the conversation needs to be had about, I'm going to always say this, about discipline. Who is responsible for disciplining children in the home when it comes to a blended family? Now, I think it's very interesting. I want to know. Tanya Hamilton, let us know what you think. Hey, Kathy.
Yeah.
I think Charlotte had a good comment on here, and I'm reading from my phone because I can't see them on the thread tonight. So I'm reading from my phone. She said, It needs to be more than interested in. Sometimes things on my phone. Sometimes things are based on physical thing more than a heart thing. I think she just broke bread. I think because if the adults lose, what's the purpose of this relationship? Then the kids never have a clue of being able to understand what's the purpose of the relationship. And I think so many times, not just I know we're talking about blended families, but I'm talking about relationships overall.
Yeah.
Where does this person add value, or where do I add value to this person? I think we got to have those conversations.
Ooh.
Go ahead.
Now that's a conversation right there. That's the conversation. Even when you talk about dating somebody.
Yes.
Like, for real. Like, if you know, you might smell good, your teeth might look nice, and you might have on some Allen Edmonds shoes. However, if you're not gentle, if you're not nurturing, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to break the speech. If you ain't got no job, first of all, I'm not dating you. That's the first thing. Like, you don't have if you don't have income coming in, I'm gonna say it that way. You don't have income coming in. This is male or female. Now, y'all do what you think was best suit yourself, but you got to think about that. You know, so I like what she said about, like, is this really just a physical thing? Are we just, you know, friends with benefits? Or am I really looking sincerely for a committed relationship? What do you think, Sister Jane?
No, I wholeheartedly believe in that also. I was looking what Tracy said. Tracy said, I think it depends on the communication between you and your children. And I got to talk about my experiences, because this is where God helps me out. Like, okay, when me and my husband first began to court, my children were young, and it affected one of my children more than the rest of them. And because this child that I believe that it affected more, I didn't see it for a little while. Thank God I did see it, and that, you know, I was able to aid to that. But it affected him more because, understanding from the relationship with me and his father, he was the apple of daddy's eye. He was very, you know, like he was daddy's boy, you know, and then to now not have that. And then now this gentleman's coming in, and like, how do I deal with this? You know, so it was very, you know, and there's plenty of times I sat down with them and said, hey, but they were still young. That's why I say you don't, you know, it's definitely experience and us trying to see what best works for us, because that's what the kind of the ball I was dealt was. Okay, how am I going to deal with this? How am I going to make sure that not only I learn how to communicate with my children and my husband learn how to communicate with my children, but how am I going to help my son flourish mentally and understand that he is still my son, that's the place that he has as my son. It doesn't change that as far as that goes, and still make him feel loved and wanted, and that he's still the apple of my eye, you know. So it was definitely, you know, what I saw even about the communication with children, that I believe that is something very, very much that we have to do. Sit down and talk to your children about it. No, we can't talk to them about everything, but I'm very open with my children. My 12-year-old, I talk to them a lot about stuff, because first of all, nobody gonna tell you before I will, you know, and then to know like what's up. This is what's up, you know, because the street don't hold nothing back. The world don't hold nothing back. And I can't have the world, you know, pouring into my son before I tell him, look, this is truth right here.
That's good.
You know, this is real good. You know, so, you know, communication is very important. So it even goes back to our conversation, I think that was last week, when we talked about communication, even with our children, how important that is.
I'll echo that. I mean, with communication, I mean, most people say trust, but I say communication is the bedrock of any successful relationship. I mean, communication with words and not communication with emotions, not communication physically, but using your mouth to explain or to verbalize how you feel at that moment in time. And I think a lot of times, because, you know, whether I'm hurt, whether past relationships, or whether I don't want to upset my mom, I don't want to upset my dad, even the children will sometimes hold on to their emotions, and sometimes they show themselves in different facets instead of being able to verbalize. I think it's so important that we give our children the right to be able to tell us exactly how they feel, exactly what's on their mind, without having repercussions of or being punished for how they feel, or being separated from the family based on how they feel. I feel our homes should be safe havens.
Yes.
They should be safe havens. And I think sometimes I got to break bread.
Come
I
on.
think sometimes we put our jobs, we put sometimes our relationships, we put our friends, we put
Come on.
the things we want in our life in
Yep.
front of the communication with our children. I'm guilty myself, in front of the communication with our children and the communication with our spouse. My wife should not have to schedule an appointment with me to be able to tell me how she feels. Or my son, I don't care if I'm in the middle of a speaking engagement,
Yeah.
or I don't care if I'm in the middle of a business meeting. If my son calls, I'm answering the phone.
Yes.
Because he needs to know, son, you're my number one priority. My wife needs to know she's my number one priority. In a blended family, my stepkids need to know that you are my priority.
Absolutely.
And that's how. And I say this with any family, with any relationship that you trust and that you value. Communication is the bedrock of that relationship.
Absolutely. And I 100% agree with you on that. And that's why one of the things, like when we decide to become a blended family, because this really is a choice. This is an adult decision that we're making. And so I think whenever we decide that that's what we want to do, it's very imperative that we come together. However that looks, maybe that's sitting around and doing family style dinner and having a conversation. Because this is what I do know. It kind of like is what Sister Queen said. You may not think that your children know, but your children know something. I guarantee you that. They can sense it. They can see you've changed. You're different. You might be happier whenever you come home at 11 o'clock at night. They know something is going on. And I appreciate what Lady Queen I Am said. I would have never wanted my children to hear it from the street that, your mom is getting ready, your mom is engaged. No. My children need to hear and have that conversation with myself together as a family. And then I want to know what people feel about the actual word stepchildren, stepfather, stepmother. Put something in the comment.
Good question.
Good
question.
Yeah, it's a good question. So one of the things that my husband has, we have always said, so I came in, I had 4 children that I birthed, and then my husband had 3, right? And so one of the things we just had great communication on was we will not call our children stepchildren. It was unequivocally, I was not doing that. And the reason why is because when your children, I knew this from first experience because I've gone through this. When your children hear you call your bonus babies, right? I call my children my bonus babies if I have to say anything other than my children. When they hear you introduce them as, this is my son, Jamari, G and Jamie Jones, whatever the names are, right? And this is my stepson.
Yeah, that'd be making a difference.
I got a question.
Yeah.
We don't call the second spouse, hey, you my second spouse. Hey, this is my second husband. You know what? This is my second husband.
That's good.
So why do we have to give the kids a pre-name if we don't give the husband or the spouse or the husband or the wife, hey, this is my second wife? We don't introduce them that way.
Because you know why you don't, because you'll be divorced again.
Hey, I'll be on to the third one.
You'll be on to the third one. So that's important, that we think about that. I'm not telling anybody to change, what you feel that should be going on in your household. You do that. But I'm just saying, I think that we should bring that to a forefront. Think about that, because when I was called the stepchild and then the biological child, he was never said, this is my biological child, and then this is my stepchild. It was, this is my cup runneth over, and then this is my stepdaughter, such and such. Well, dang, it made me feel a certain way. Like, I got to be step, because step always, it never felt good. You know,
I have a question because I see Tanya wrote, after my divorce, I didn't bring anyone into my home around my children. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you feel like for those that have decided, to do that, do you feel like you kind of had to stop your life to raise your children and then go after, allow whoever God was going to bring into your life? Or like you just made a conscious effort, you know what, I'm going to focus on my children. This only be, just me and my children, or just because you are afraid of, because they got some crazy folks out there. And, I'm sure, unfortunately, women have said they brought men into their homes and things happen to their children. So, I even understand that. But do you feel like maybe you had to put yourself on halt in order to make sure that, I guess, maybe your children, that you raised them till they got out the house, then you can go about it? Because I was reading one of her comments, then I saw Shay Shay. She also responded. She says, I guess she was talking about what you said, Queen Antoinette. She said, you have to bring something to the table. Never a materialistic person, but wasn't about to let any man lay up off me and my sons. I know that's right, sister.
Hey, let a brother chime in on that.
Come on.
You have to bring, he shouldn't have to bring something to the table. He should be bringing the table.
Come
he
on.
He should be bringing the table.
The table.
The table.
Anthony.
With the chairs. My bad. I was about to go on a run.
No. Let me tell you something. Now, it has been said that Bridging the Nations, we're very conservative. Listen, and who gonna check us? 100%. You need to bring it to the table. All of it.
All of it.
You need to bring, matter of fact, listen. You need to bring the table. How about that?
Come on. That's what our brother Keith said. The brother said it.
And I'm gonna tell you why, ladies. I'm gonna break bread. I just want to. Brothers don't. I'm just gonna. Hey, if a brother got a wife on here, he gonna appreciate it. If one out there that ain't serious, he gonna hate it. Then there's somebody out there that's trying to build a home, not a house, trying to build a home. He's gonna appreciate it. I gotta break bread, ladies. Like, you got ingenuity. There's greatness on the inside of you. You all, like my wife, man. Like I didn't know what all she could do until she was in an environment of stability. Like, it's amazing that today we had a speaking engagement. My wife went out there and she did. I think they love her more than they love me. I really do. and then like when I can't conduct basketball practice for my team, my wife steps in. She runs the basketball practice. Or for the foundation that we run, she's the president of the board of the foundation we run. Like, you all have genius on the inside of you that you can do whatever needs to be done when you got a brother or a husband that's about kingdom business. So you should never leave your garden where God has provided for you to go outside of that garden and try to find somebody to bring in your garden, because there's somebody with a garden that blends and meshes perfectly in yours. Don't ever downgrade who you are to try to bring any old man into your house. It was funny. I was listening to the Steve Harvey Morning Show the other morning. Somebody had wrote a letter to my, why is my mom trying to date a homeless man? Like, the dad had died and the dad had left like a whole lot of money. She was well off, but she felt so bad and so low self-esteem about herself that she was willing to go bring in a homeless man into her $300,000 house. Now, what kind of sense that make, other than the fact I'd rather lay with somebody than lay by myself? And I'm challenging you all out there today to find somebody that lifts you up, somebody that presents. See, it's my job to present my wife to me without spot or wrinkle. That's not her job.
Mm-hmm.
That's my job to make sure that she's filled with everything she has. That's my job.
Yes, sir.
And if you should be looking for someone that's gonna make you the center of their attention.
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Like Jesus said, you're the center of my joy. That he's gonna make sure you got something to eat if you don't have anything to eat. He's gonna make sure you got the good shoes on, and he might be wearing pie crust. You got, like, I see ladies too much just settle for any old man than going after somebody gonna make them better, and that bothers me.
Yeah, and it should bother you. And I'm gonna say to all the ladies out here, Anthony Williams is taken. I just want to let y'all know.
Yeah, he had the wife.
No emails. Don't be sending us no
my sister on here somewhere. He got the wife. And we got two sisters on here we about that life. He got the wife.
Right. Yeah. We own this for real. This is our brother. So don't be clapping at us on that. So I think, the other thing too, when we think about, you've created this blended family. So who's responsible for discipline? Who's responsible? Can if you have a 16-year-old daughter, can your new husband come in and discipline your daughter? And what does that look like? I told y'all tonight we was coming in real strong today. We coming in real strong.
And I think they coming in strong. Like Aaron, to go along with what you just said, Antoinette Marie, Aaron Booker just said it depends on the parental dynamic. If the other parent is still involved, will you be able to identify them as yours? You know, he just brought in another dynamic to this whole conversation. And I would love to hear your two answers, especially since you have blended families. I would love to hear your answers on what he just said.
Absolutely. So he's saying if the biological father is still
present. Yes.
Still present. I think this is a really great question. I think personally, I can just tell a little bit about my story. My children's father, and I only had one minor. When I got married, my daughter was almost 18 years old. That was done intentionally. So I didn't necessarily have the issue concerning discipline per se. And I'm not talking about, corporal punishment and beating. We're not talking about that because we are so higher than that. But what I will say is this, is that in my family, we have always stated we will never stop any of our children, minor or not minors, for having a great conversation and relationship with their father. That is still their father. No matter how we want to put it, no matter how, I know a lot of times when we go through really horrible divorces, we just talk ugly about the other parent. Mm-hmm. He ain't no good. You don't have to say all that, because this is what I do know. Whether that's true, whether it's not true, your children still have the right to have a relationship with their biological father, with their biological mother. And so in our household, listen, our children, if we had any minor children that were with us, they knew where the respect level had to be. It wasn't even an option. And we have been so blessed that our daughter, because we had to bring her back in, I had to bring her back in from where she was in college. So she's in college. But even with that, whenever she is here, listen, she understands. And this is the thing, ladies, don't force your children to call your husband, their bonus parent, daddy. Can we stop doing that? Can we just stop forcing our children? Because this is what I do know. Your child or your children, when they're ready to say, this is my parent, these are my parents, and they're talking about you and your new husband, they will say it. It will be so gracefully natural. It will be so authentic. This is my dad. I say this. If you have a really strong parent that's in the household that is considered as, for this premises, we say stepfather and stepmother, and they have a strong father, it's a beautiful thing for a child or children to have two very strong parents.
Yeah.
It has to be a beautiful thing to have children that say, I have two fathers. I have a dad, I have a father. They take care of me very well. This is a great thing that I have. So let's think about it in that context. But to answer Aaron's question, I totally get it. I think that it has to be something that, if that does exist, is a beautiful thing. And I also believe this. If there's a time where the mom decides she's going to get married and she has minor children, listen, if you can, possible. I'm about to break bread on this one.
Break bread, sis.
If you can, come on closer.
Lean in.
I love that. Can you fathers, men, males, can you put your stuff aside for a minute? It is important, if you can. It's gracefully important that you sit down with that man of the child that now you are also raising, and y'all have a little conversation.
Come on.
Let's have a little respect, if you can.
Grow up.
Have a respectful conversation, because this man now is in the household with your son and or daughter every single day, depending on how that custody has worked out. So why would you not want to come to the table and at least to get to know who this other person is raising your son and or daughter?
And you know what?
Just broke bread on that one.
Come on, you just broke bread. And what I was realizing is, especially, it is healthy for your children to see that all parents are able to get along. And we're about raising healthy children, if that is the case. In my case, You know, Tracy said something big when she said it depends how mature are the adults.
Yeah.
And that's because that's important. You don't want your children to see you always arguing and them feeling like they have to pick sides, you know, because this is my daddy, this is my mama, and this is, you know, my mother's remarried or whatever. And now I have to pick sides. You don't want your children to feel that way. And one thing that, you know, I really, really realized is the fact that with my son, because like I told you, that's not one of the things that is a part of my life. My ex-husband is not someone that I can have a mature conversation with. So with my son, though, whenever he wanted to talk, because my son is old enough to talk to his own father. And so whenever the time did come where he called, you know, to talk to them, my 12-year-old son said, as soon as my name was brought up, my 12-year-old son said, well, you know what, how about we not talk about my mom? Can maybe we talk about us and about us starting to communicate again? And this is from my 12-year-old son.
Wow.
You know, so thank God that I've raised him like that. But what I realized is, even from when there was a period where they weren't talking, I would tell my son all the time. He was like, well, why he don't call? Why, you know, and I'd tell my son all the time, you know what? Just forgive him. Realize that it's you know, there might be something going on inside of him. I never bashed him with him because that's not even my place to do that. But realizing, you know what? Forgiveness is not for him, it's for you, because I want you to be a better man, not a bitter man, because your daddy wasn't there or your daddy wasn't there the way you wanted him to be. But teaching him, look, you know what, it does hurt, and I understand that, and I probably can't understand to the capacity that you would need me to, but if you need, I'm here. Aaron said that earlier. He said communication breeds trust.
Yeah.
You know, if you need me,
Love
I'm here, but you need to forgive him, because of the fact is, holding that unforgiveness is going to make you bitter, and he's going on with his life. But if you choose to forgive him and realize, you know what, whatever you got going on, whatever you're doing in your life, you know what, I forgive you for that. And when you do call, and like I said, mental health with my children is something big. I'll protect it, you know, and if I see it endangered, I will protect it, you know.
Yeah.
But realizing that is one of the conversations that me and my two older sons had, because the fact is, I'm trying to raise not only men, kingdom of God men. Me and my husband are trying to raise kingdom of God men, but I'm also trying to raise them to have a healthy mental space.
Hey, I want to chime in on that too, because something you just said really sparked a conversation that, honestly, my mom and I had this same conversation last week. You got to be careful of the story that you tell that child also, because the story that you tell that child will be the truth they stand under. It will be it will be their understanding.
Yeah.
And one thing my mom, and she even did it. My dad died when I was 22, and last week my mom did the same thing, where where protecting your mental health. Like my mom always told me, like my dad was in and out of prison. My dad was in and out of jail, and he was on crack or either selling it in every phase of my life. But the story she always told me, and the story that we've come to the conclusion is, my dad didn't know his dad. His mom, my grandmother was pregnant with him at 16. He didn't know his dad. My dad outperformed his dad for the simple fact that I know who he is. And my mom told me this the other day, Tony, if your dad could have came to your basketball games, he would have, but he didn't, because he didn't want the feds all on you like they were doing him. And see, the story that she told me disarmed, you know, his actions in my life. Say, okay, it wasn't totally the fact that he didn't want to be there, but she could have told me, your dad is a low down, dirty dog. He ain't cared about y'all since the beginning. He ain't cared whether you had food on the table. He ain't cared whether you ate. He just only cared about what he did. That's not the version of the truth she told me.
Yeah.
And so today, I am not scarred.
Come on.
I love my dad, and I wish my dad was still alive so he can spend time with my boy.
That's
But
good.
I see him the way I see him because of the version of the story that she told me.
Yeah.
And I say this, that we have to be careful about not just the version that we tell our children about their fathers, but even the version that we show ourselves to our children. Because that's just because as we bash the other partner, they're looking at how we deal with the world ourselves, and now it's okay for them to do the same thing. And that's why I have the ability to see the good, and that's why I am a motivational teacher, because of the version of the truth my mom told me, I have the ability to see the good in everybody. So be very mindful of what we're telling these children,
Yeah.
I think Margaret had said something too about what you said, Sister Queen. Margaret, do you feel like that made a difference between you and your daughter? She said her husband has a daughter that's older, and she always called her stepmom and she always called her stepdaughter, but it was always love, as if they were, I guess they were each other's biological, that they had that type of love. I saw she kind of said something. I'm trying to at least hit y'all guys once. I'm looking
Yeah.
here.
You know, I think that, it kind of talks about what Anthony was saying, to be able to have and to show that love. And if people decide they want to say, this is my stepmom, my stepdad, or, that's up to you. That nobody's going to beat you over the head and tell you that's wrong. It's not even a right or wrong thing. It also has to do with sometimes where people's comfort level is.
Yeah.
I know a lot of times children will say, they are very intentional about this is my stepdad or this is my stepmom, because they don't want to catch this one. Come on now. Because they don't want to disappoint their biological mother or father.
Yeah.
They don't want their biological mother or father to think like, now you guys are kind of equal. So for a lot of times, children will be very distinctively intentional, and they will say, this is my mom and this is my stepmom, or this is my dad and this is my stepdad, because they have either heard it, sometimes we'll say, because I'm still your mama. You can go over by your daddy's house, but I'm still your mom. You can talk to your too, and it's always a her. Like the quote, stepmom never has a name. It's always her, right? And so, or on the other side, it's all even if it was a male, it's always him. He didn't raise you. He, whatever it is. But you know what? That's an internal issue with that particular individual. That doesn't have anything to do with the child. But a lot of times, this is the thing too. We have to take ego out of it.
Yeah, come on. That's true.
Take that ego out of it. They were not the reason for the divorce. They were not the reason for the separation. You cannot. Yes, you cannot consistently just be like, because they ain't nothing, and keep clapping back, and then when you go over, when your children go over to your ex's house for the weekend or however it's going to be made up, before those children even hit the front door, you text them, are you on the phone? Where you at? What y'all do? Did you eat? What she feed you?
That's not cool.
You got your own room? Did she buy you socks?
Yeah,
What's
that's
going
not
on?
cool.
What they doing? Let's stop it.
Yeah.
We cannot do that, because that's just straight up your ego wanting to know what's going on. And it really doesn't have anything to do with the other parent. It is 100% on you. Go ahead, Anthony.
Is he or she doing better with or without me? Right. I just want I just want to just go ahead and be real. Let's not beat around the bush. Is he or she doing better without me? That's all we want to know. And the kids are pawns in the game for me to realize that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not fair to the kids, to make them feel like that, to be put in that situation. And that's what I kept thinking when you were talking, Sister Queen. I was like, man, that's messed up, because you make your child feel like, they're underneath the scope, and I don't want to hurt my dad's feelings. I don't want to hurt my mom's feelings, but, you don't want to tell them too much. So it just puts your children like in a bad position, and you don't want to do that,
Yeah. And then I think the other things that, when we talk about, our children, these are some of the things that children go through. So get your pen and piece of paper.
Yeah,
some of the emotional things that children go through when they have to, almost we force them to compare who's the good mom, who's the bad mom, who's the good dad, who's the bad dad or father, or whatever the terminology is. So children go through a huge amount of emotional stress. When I tell you emotional stress, they go through so much emotional stress, and then that affects school, right? We got to know that. We know that affects school, right? They go through this process of blaming themselves. They were the reason for the divorce. They were the reason for the separation. They're the reason why mom no longer has this. They're the reason why, so on and so forth. Hey, Kim. And then they go through this process of anxiety. Yes, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. And this is the reason why we've decided that this is going to be just part one of this. It's a package deal, Blended Families, episode number 1, because we have to talk about this. We have to talk about how children walk into an immense amount of anxiety just based upon what they have seen, what we probably have said about the other or the quote, the ex-spouse. You cannot talk about your children's mom or dad. You cannot do that. Put your ego to the side. He ain't with you no more. He ain't with you. She ain't with you no more again. So just go ahead and fly. Go ahead and do what you got to do to support yourself and your children. And then one of the things is that, I always say that depression is anger and sadness held within.
Say that. And
I have seen this even in my own household, how one of my children went through a huge amount just of anxiety. And I'm going to tell you, divorce is one of the hardest things. We think it's hard on us as an adult, but think about the children. Think about the children. It's difficult. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, if you are in a situation and you've decided to get a divorce based on whatever you feel like it is, listen, do what you got to do. But just remember some of the other collateral that's you're going to have to deal with as well. And you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it, right? And so we want to make sure, I've said this time and time again, make sure that your children get some therapy, because I'm going to tell you, they're going to need it. Make sure they get some really godly counsel, because they are going to need it. And let me tell you something else. What'd you say, Anthony, when I say come closer? Listen up. What'd you say?
Lean in.
Lean in. You going to need some counseling too. Just let you know. You're going to need you some therapy, because when I went through my situation and then came to this aspect of deciding, okay, and I'm going to remarry. Listen, I had to go through some sitting. I didn't even go counsel. I had some therapy because I had some stuff going on, right? And so we have to be true to ourselves, because as individuals, we may say, wow, I could have did this better. Or, wow, I could have just stayed in there. Hey, Drew, Nikki, I could have just stayed in there a little bit longer. I could have just waited. Let me say something to you. Whether you do it now, you do it later, the enemy is going to always come to you and say, you're not no good. Why you do that? So on. It's going to always be that. But always, at some point, you have to say, okay, this is happening or it's done. And then if you want to walk into that second phase, second time around experience and bringing in a blended family, we already said communication is a must. You have to have really great communication. And this is not communication. I said what I said, and this is how it's going to be. That's not communication. That's not going to work. And particularly if you have teenage children, you got to have some flexibility, right? But we also know you pay the bills in the house, and that is your home. So you're not asking them for permission. But I want us to remember that when it comes to our children, anxiety is real. Depression is real. And I know a lot of times in the church, nobody want to talk about depression. They're just like, oh, that's a demonic force. Let me say something.
No,
now,
it's
let
real.
Me y'all right there, okay? Now, if you want to turn the channel. But I'm going to get into this. We need to stop saying that anxiety and depression is not real. We need to stop saying that anxiety and depression comes from you sinning.
The devil.
We need to stop saying that anxiety and depression, they just come from the devil. There's some things that individuals have experienced in their life, listen, that will cause them, if they don't have the right support, if they don't have the right mental complexities that are all put together, you can have anxiety about going to work tomorrow. Is that the devil? We're going to say everything is the devil. I beg to differ with you. Now, there are times where you can have the spirit of depression. I mean, it's just on. Listen, I understand.
Yeah, because Elijah had it in the cave.
Exactly. So we're not talking about a spirit of depression.
Yeah.
That's totally different, right? Okay. Yeah. So for all y'all deep Bible scholars, we can talk about it. Just come on over to my side. I can talk to you about it.
But even with the cave, it was based on his own thinking.
It was. It was.
100%.
It was his own thinking that got
It
him there.
was. But it said the spirit of depression. Yeah.
Right. And his thinking was negative upon negative upon
Oh,
negative.
no, only one, Lord.
This over and over again. So we have to be able to give our children an opportunity. So when your child says to you, Mom, Dad, I just, I got some thoughts that's going on in my head, and something wrong with you. Something wrong with you. No, I'm gonna tell you something wrong with you. Something's wrong with you is what it is.
Oh, my
Yeah.
bad. I forgot I'm live.
So we have to be okay with that. Get godly counsel. You know what I'm saying? That's something that's very, very important. And one of the things that my children said to me was, I'm glad that you have the structure. Children desire structure.
Yeah.
It's not the opposite. So now all of a sudden you feel like you got to make up for the divorce. You don't have to make up for the divorce. Children need structure. And that was one of the things that my children said to me. Thank you, Mom, for having the structure. Having the structure. But I'm going to say this. If your children come to you and say, hey, I'm thinking about some stuff that I know I shouldn't be thinking about, we do. Listen.
We need to talk. Yeah.
We need to have some
Get that out.
conversation. Because if you don't address it, I can guarantee you somebody else is going to address it. It may be in a different way. They're going to gravitate towards somebody or something, and we have to talk about it. And I know a lot of times in some heritages, cultures, we don't want to talk about anxiety. We don't want to talk about depression. We don't want to talk about therapy. We don't
and especially in our community. It's taboo in the African American community.
Exactly. We don't, particularly in the African American, we don't want to talk about counseling because that's not what we do. Well, let me say you, baby cake, then maybe we need to be doing some of that to help us grow. We may need to do some of that because it's not even just about the anxiety and depression. Because when you don't do it, sometimes, here's that next level. You may have children. You think your children are fine? Listen, I guarantee you that they're not, because then it'll be a next level. That next level may be they start to cut themselves. Listen, we're going to talk. That's
truth.
Go ahead, Sister Queen.
No, I was looking at what Tanya said, and I wanted to maybe even ask you guys out there, the listening audience, and even Brother King and Sister Queen. She said she has there's a parent that's an unstable parent in her son's life. Do you think it is wrong if you feel like the other parent is mentally could be mentally damaging to your child to have to, I guess, maybe pull your children back? I know it's kind of like a thin line in maybe even a gray area, but like if, for example, for a period of time, mentally, before my son would even have the power to say even what he said, that's the type of relationship they would have had. Well, if your mama this, and and that would have been the whole conversation. And there was a period where I had to cut it off because I felt like it could be damaging, mentally damaging to my children, so I did have to cut off. And it wasn't that I was trying to be bitter, because I had decided to cut all cords. It wasn't that, but the fact is I realized I had their lives in my hand, their mental state in my hand, and that I had to protect that. So when Tanya said that, I wonder just how everyone feels about that. Do you just allow it to play out because that's their dad and if they want to go, or that's their mom and if they want to go, or do you take a stand and say, no, you're not ready for this yet because this could be damaging, to you?
I, as a mother, I'm going to do what I truly believe is in the best interest of my children.
Yeah.
And I know people will not like it and they'll say whatever. But if my son or daughter came home and said, I just want to let you know that, Dad has said this, so on and so forth. And even if they did, even if I heard it on the telephone, your mama ain't this, she ain't nothing. Yeah. She a hoe, she's on. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I did say it right on here. Whatever the situation is, and that is damaging, I can see as a mom, and I think even as a nurturing father, because women do the same thing. It's not just men do it. Women do the exact same thing. You as a parent, if you can, because sometimes here's the reverse. That person that's saying that may be the custodial parent.
Yeah.
And That's, in my opinion, is even a little bit worse.
Yeah.
Because now that child has to more often than not continue to hear this negativity. Your mama ain't nothing. Your daddy ain't nothing. He ain't never gonna be nothing. You see what he did. He didn't give me no child support. Listen, children don't need to hear that. So from my perspective, if I saw my daughter go through what she was going through, you're going to have to, because she's not coming by your house. And if you need to take me to court, then take me to court, because my responsibility as a mother is to make sure that my son or daughter mental well-being is legit and is taken care of. So if you got to take me back to court, ladies and gentlemen, if you...
Then that's how I felt.
I'll chime into that conversation too. I do believe that when God entrusted me, I'm going to add my wife in this conversation too. With my wife and my two boys, it's my job to protect their I am. If anything that's damaging who he or even my wife can be in the future, then that's my job to protect that.
Yeah.
They didn't ask to be here. All of this was my intelligent decision. Then it's my job with my intelligent decision to protect my own rib. What person, if their finger is burning, don't put out the fire? Mm-hmm. What person, if they drop a brick on their foot, doesn't move the brick to relieve the foot? Yeah. Well, it's the same thing when we're talking about family right now. There's a half of my family right now that we really don't deal with, just because it's important that I protect their I am, because that ultimately determines who they are and what they become. And I will not gamble with their I am. Even ask my wife, if she go to her job tomorrow and somebody leave, walk off in the middle of the day. And say, hey, y'all remember when Terry Crews, was something about Chris? My husband got 2 jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't need this job.
I ain't gotta take this. My husband got 2 jobs.
Let's go.
I mean because that I signed up for that. That's and any brothers out there, that is our responsibility to make sure that we protect that. You can't speak negative in my children's life and me hear it, because we will exit. I've had this conversation with a close family member. Yeah, because we don't use. I've said it just like this. We don't use that kind of language in our house. Yeah, we don't say can't. We don't limit beliefs. And I have no idea how far they went with them, but I say anybody, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a principal, whether it's I don't care, a cousin, a brother, whatever the relationship, anybody who limits their I am, remove them from that environment, because that's ultimately shaping who they are.
And that's so true, that every single thing that your children hear, it is chipping. It's leaving. It's like influence. It has the potential to leave influence, little nuggets that just sit up on their life. So you are the responsible one. And as the man in the house, the husband, we can break that word down, but we're not, because we're talking about blended families.
We're talking about blended.
But when we're talking about children, you are supposed to support them. You are supposed to be the provider, listen. If you're not going to do it, then who else is going to do it? Who else is going to do it? And I want to say this too, and I love y'all, I really do. But I got to say this because I keep hearing this. Ladies, if you are the new bonus mom, you are the new bonus mom, and your new hubby, let me say it real nice and beautiful, and your new hubby has other children, and you may not like the other spouse, right? And so please, could you do this? Could you just lean in a little bit? Stop talking about your bonus children's mama. Can we stop doing that? We can't do that, ladies. Gentlemen, can you stop talking about your bonus children's biological parent? You can't do that, because let me tell you what happens. Since I'm gonna come back to Antoinette Marie. You saw how my voice changed. So now
hey, that was a strategist, Antoinette Marie. Now you about to get the bread breaker, Antoinette Marie.
Who gonna check me, Antoinette Marie? So let me say this: stop doing that, because honestly, that just means you jealous.
And that shows your insecurities.
That shows your insecurities. That shows your ego is too big. Somebody need to pop that head wide open. That person should be you. Let's
And
stop doing that.
I think Mama Senegal just put something on here. It could have been a while ago, 8 minutes ago, that I think ties right into that. She said, yes, no, sometimes you need to get help, but I like the back of it. Get rid of the spirit of pride.
Yes.
If you look at all of this stuff, and I said it last week, and I'm going to say it this week, and I've been saying it, we got to become of no reputation.
Yeah.
We have to be, we have to exit what I call people prison. Like I can't care what you think about me. I mean, I'm being honest. Like if you're not in my circle, I honestly don't care what people say or think. And the reason why is check me if the numbers are wrong. 99% of the people in this world only want to make you average. They want to make you average, and we got to be careful who we listen to. Why in the world would I listen to somebody who about my marriage and all they do is talk about how bad theirs is and how much they hate their spouse and how bad their house is, and I'm going to listen to that person for advice, and I care what that person thinks about me when I give them good, godly, sound advice? You got to become of no reputation, man. The only way, I think the only way to an awakened I am is really becoming of no reputation and going about your business doing it the kingdom way. And I think Mama Senegal hit it just right. We spend so much time trying to protect us that we lose us.
Yeah. And I wanted to say, so I see Cammie said, she said, my girl's dad did not want my children at his home unless I was present also. He eventually found a woman and told me that to leave him alone if he had his own family to support. I didn't allow my girls over there due to drinking and toxic actions taking place. I will never bash him to my children because it's not my place to do so. And when my children get older, I'll let them choose their own feelings towards him. And I pray he heals and can step up to the plate in time. And I'd also go if he doesn't know that God will place a man in my life, so on and so forth. So when we look at this at the end, because we know it's a little bit after 7:30, and we love y'all. We can stay up on here for another 2 hours, to be honest with you. That's why this is part one. At the end of every single thing, at the end of, yes, you're in a blended family. Can I just say, can we just love one another?
I'm telling you.
Amen.
Can we just decide to love one another? To love one another. And I would tell you 100%, if my bonus children, and I'm saying bonus children here just so we understand whom I'm speaking about. If my bonus children's mom contacted me and said, hey, can we sit and have a conversation? Absolutely. We sure can. And that's because when you come to the point in your life and you say, this is not about me. This is not about me. This is not about the man that I married. This is about raising men of standard and young women of virtue.
Come on.
That's what this is about.
Say that.
This is not about who got more money. This is not about I'm with your man. This is not. Now, let me tell you something now. We're not going to have no conversation about my husband. That's what we ain't going to do. We're not going to be comparing nothing. That's what we ain't getting ready to do. Now, breakfast, lunch, or another dinner either. We're not going to do that. But I will
about the kids.
I will not listen. But I will come to the table and be like, let's have a conversation, because we have to be mature.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that our children are that they understand their I am. We're raising kings and queens. We're raising congressmen and senators and CEOs, CFOs. That's who we are.
Say that.
We had our opportunity. We had our listen, because bring the ego, crush it. Just crush it. That's what I need for us to do, is to crush the ego. And sometimes you got to tell yourself, you got to say, listen, I'm going to use myself for an example. You got to say, Antoinette Marie, and Antoinette Marie going to say, huh? Girl, you're doing too much. Sit down. If I ever was in that situation, and I can honestly say, my children have never heard me talk negatively about their mom. I'm not going to do it, because I'm a mama. So I'm talking about her. Believe me. And there's this thing called reaping and sowing, sugar.
Love it.
That's what you sow. You shall reap. It didn't say all the good stuff that you sow. It said whatsoever a person sows, you shall reap.
And you know, I realize that it does now. We want you to understand, especially those that have chosen to become a bonus parent. We do want you to understand. We understand that sometimes it does take a lot of strength, because just like whenever you're trying to merge two lives together, because y'all see things differently, and you're used to doing things differently, and to take that, now you have to merge your children's life, into this. So we understand sometimes it might be difficult, sometimes it might be hard. Now we understand that you can do it, that you all have all power to be able to do it. So we just definitely want to help you with little nuggets that you can add to your artillery. So whenever you're ready, it's because this is your family. This is your team, your triad, your family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like what you both just said. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we have to find a way to protect these children's I am.
Yeah.
And if it requires that I have to be the adult in the room, then I have to be the adult in the room. And I know the people that I'm looking at the name on this list, you're built to be the adult in the room, to now allow your emotions to manage your behaviors. And all we see, I'm telling you, like, all our behaviors are in these situations are a group of emotions. And to the person that can manage their emotions are the one that can help protect these children's I am, and honestly protect your I am. Because your I am is as important. It's important that your children see a parent with an awakened I am that's maximizing and doing everything that God has given them to do, with or without a spouse, with or without the father, mother being remarried, doing their own thing. Although you still have the responsibility. I know I got to give my mom a big shout out. We struggled a lot. Welfare. I remember seeing my mom walk 3 and 4 miles to school to try to get an associate's degree. I remember my mom having to sell donuts on the corner of the mall to be able to raise money for me to go on AAU tournaments. It wasn't about what we didn't have. It was about what we did have.
Yeah.
And I dare us to take that mindset when we're dealing with these situations. There's going to always be something that's not going to be perfect. But you know what, son? We ain't got it, but we got ingenuity to go get it. If I got to go sell donuts that I bought for $3 and sell them for $6, we'll get on the corner, we'll do it, and we'll raise that money. We ain't asking nobody for nothing. We'll get out there. And that just shows the grit that I'm built from. And once your children start seeing that you are a solution-oriented person, you don't have to speak negative about anybody. Yeah. When they start seeing who your awakened I am, it sheds light on everybody else I am on its own. Yeah. Be who you are, and everything else will line up. I just broke bread. Come on. I'm out for the night. That's it.
Yes, you did. Wait a minute. Put your muscle up. Put your muscle up.
He about to flex on y'all.
Hey, those are chosen.
I know that's right.
I see that. So as we finish up tonight, and we're not finished, but we're done for tonight. We'll say it that way, because this is next week. We're going to talk about this a little bit more. And because we know that there's areas that we didn't cover, we may have not necessarily covered, like, what is the actual role of the new bonus parent? What's the expectation? What's the obligation? What are they actually responsible for? So we're going to get into that on next week. And then we also want to hear from you. We know that there are going to be some residual mindset changing that you're going to be thinking about as you go into this evening. Let us know. Tell us what's on your heart. Tell us what's on your mind. Tell us what you really are thinking about when it comes to, a part of your story. What does that look like? What does that feel like? And then, maybe next week will be our last episode, and we're talking about blended families. I already had somebody to text me and say, okay, y'all talking about families, but I'm single. I ain't got no children.
Hey, so let me talk to her. Let me please talk to her. You want to chime into this, so you ain't got to worry about going through 2 of these.
There you go.
You ain't got to worry about this blended conversation. That's exactly why you need to be here.
That's exactly why you need to be listening to this. You can learn something. Just listen. But there has been this request to talk about dating. And
Ooh, I
what
love it.
does
I love it.
so next week we may continue to do this, and then the next week we may talk about, we hear the scripture all the times that he that findeth a wife findeth a
Look
good
at her.
thing, you know.
Hey, when you find that she won't be no wife, you got to build her into that. She ain't no wife day one.
And I see that a little bit different. I'm
Not day one.
We gonna
You gotta cleanse her and present
I
her.
love this.
You gotta cleanse her and present her. I'm telling you,
This is real stuff right here. I love this.
not
I
day
love
one.
this. This is
So
real stuff.
we want to thank you for joining us on today. I know many there's several people that have just come on. They may have been watching other lives. But you can go back and hit the replay. We love you as well. And so I hear somebody just said, and even if you didn't have struggles growing up, change the game for someone else.
Amen.
That is so good. We are going to leave on that.
Nikki, you just broke bread, Nikki.
She did just break bread.
broke bread, sis.
Man, I'm going to say that again. Even if you didn't have struggles growing up, change the game for someone else. That is so
That's
beautiful.
my
Great.
right there.
Hey, she just broke bread.
That is so
That's
beautiful. Nikki, I'm probably gonna quote that on Facebook or some social media, and I'm gonna give you the credit for it. That is beautiful. And so we want to thank you for
Man, I
joining
love
us on tonight. Nikki said, y'all are the truth. Thank you. We for real.
Yeah.
We try to keep it REAL, because you know what? And who's gonna check us?
Boo. Oh, no, boo.
Nobody. Who gonna check us, boo?
It's okay if you say boo.
Oh, I say boo, sis.
Nobody. We want to do exactly what God is telling us to do. We know who we serve. We know who we are. We know the I am that is in us. We could talk to you and motivate you all day.
Oh,
but if you are struggling in your own personal walk, listen, we would be in contrary to just talk about surface things and not talk about the real deal. The real deal. Brother Ken, you gonna finish us off here?
Oh yeah, I forgot that was my role.
Yeah, it's okay, bro.
I forgot. Hey, I get involved in this conversation. My
I'm
bad.
telling you. And thanks y'all for chiming in, because y'all made the conversation so much better. Thank y'all for chiming in.
Absolutely. We thank you so much for being a part. This is what we love, is that, we are all, we're motivational speakers, we're trainers, we're teachers, we're all that. But if we don't have an audience, listen, we just talking to the screen. And because we have 3 really strong personalities, we can talk to the screen and record it and just flip it over. Listen.
We do this 30 minutes before we even start. We almost sometimes forget the start time.
We do. That's very true.
And then 30 minutes afterwards.
Guess what? Listen.
What?
Thank you, God. Listen how God God gonna give me a reminder.
Come on, Jesus.
So this is what was just laid up on me. Listen.
What we got?
Listen. So I wrote a book called Raising Healthy Children. Listen, this was not planned. Raising Healthy Children in an Unhealthy World, right? And so I want to give this book away to Anthony. Okay, so the first person that says that writes something in the comment, Anthony, you say what it has to be in the comment, and it's going to be the first 2 people. I'm gonna do 2.
Hey, only the hungry gonna win. The first 2 that write, I'm hungry.
There we go. Let's go. Move your fingers. Move your fingers. Get them.
Let's get to it. Let me refresh over here because I got to be where I can see it.
I know, and I'm looking too.
We are excited. We are excited for you. We're excited for you. So I hope and pray that this book inspires you, motivates you, blesses you. My chapter in here is chapter 1. And look, did what it say? This is what I wrote about. What do children really want from their parents? Y'all better talk about it. You better come on in the room. I'm going to tell you.
Elke said she's hungry.
And Laura, I have a Laura next.
And Laura said she's Elke and Laura. I love hungry people, man. Only the hungry gonna survive in this world.
Only the hungry will survive. So Elkie and Laura, DM me or send me an email. I can put my email up on here. Here. Yeah, there you go. Speak@AnswerMarie.com. If you send me your email address, I'm sorry, not your email address, your mailing address, I'm going to send you the book. And we are praying that this book blesses you. It gives you insight. It gives you creativity and ideas on different techniques that you can do when it comes to your children. This book here got everything. We talk about generational. We talk about fathers, 25 strategies to increase a child's self-esteem. Parents, what do you talk about? What does your walk look? Are you listening? Powerful traits of youth leadership. So you want to be a parent, like that says. So you want to be a millionaire. So you want to be a parent. Give them roots right here. You're talking. I think this is 19 chapters. Listen, beautiful. So we just want to say thank you tonight. We want to bless you. We want to say thank you very, very much. Continue to forward this video, share. This is Sister Queen. Sister Queens, you do that last part that you talk about, share, like, flip it. I don't know.
I don't even know. I say press. Click the heart button and then share this video to every page, group that you are associated with. I guess that's what I say. I don't even know, sis.
Change your mind, change your heart.
Oh, if you change your mind, you change your life. So if you change the way that you think, your life will forever change. But guess what? You are your only limitation.
Yes, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Had to warm her up.
Caught off guard.
We ain't gonna leave you without a party. We ain't gonna leave you without a party, man. Come on and smile.
Hey.
Put a smile on your face.
Glad my reader's on.
Yeah. Yeah. We love you guys.
Thank y'all for joining us tonight.
You know I really love you, and I paid for my mistakes. Yes, I did, girl. The more I try to hide my feelings, baby, this old heart gets in the way.
Hey, watch how I fade this.
Oh, you do that. Yeah, even tag your friends. There you go, Tina. There you go.
Brother coming up.
Yeah, so we want to say have a fantastic night. Make sure that if you have a husband or a wife, that you love them. You let them know that they are important to you. Love is an action. It's about also what you do, not just what you say. And if you have children, please let your children know that they are important to your lifespan. Let them know that they are important every single day, that they are essential children. Give them a really, really, really strong hug. And if they're not in your midst, don't text them. Call them on the phone. Say, hey, I just want to say to you, I love you very, very much. Okay. So we will see you on next week. We will be talking about it's a package deal part 2, blended families. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Y'all have been amazing.